Good evening, and welcome to the latest episode of the Eve Prosper Market Show. I'm your host, Lockefox, and I'm here with all of the market news and trends that you need to know going into the weekend. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started where we usually do, and quickly do some show news, and maybe turn down the cheese factor on the voice just a second. So I want to thank everybody who is tuned in live. You can catch this show live on Thursday nights at 0400 Eve time. That is 8 o'clock Pacific. We're live every week, or at least I try to be, with all of the market news that you guys need. If you want to follow us, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. I do try to post on all platforms, but longtime fans will know that I am way behind on the blog, so mea culpa on that. If you want to support the show, the very best way to do so is through our Patreon. Patrons do donate a little bit every month, and they do keep this show on the air. We provide this show ad-free, without delay, every week. We do run custom hardware to do all of this. We are running a co-location box. We do use the patron money to keep the lights on around here. And it's a incredible help, and I can't say thank you enough to our patrons. So if you want to support the show, if you get value out of this show, if you just want to buy me a beer, very best way to do so is through Patreon. If you don't want to support us directly or can't support us directly, that is absolutely fine. Do feel free to subscribe, though, because like every good marketeer, I like seeing numbers moving up and to the right. So getting our sub numbers up to ever higher highs is always appreciated. Do share us with your corpies, do share us with your friends, share us with your enemies, spam us in local. Get everybody to tune in live, because I, again, love doing the show for you guys, and I love being here and seeing the numbers go up. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers on Twitter, 1,000 followers on Twitter, and I would really love to do that. Second to last thing, if you aren't getting enough Eve Prosper show here, do feel free to stop by our Discord. Links to join should be down in the doobly-doo below. We have a whole bunch of people there. We're building quite a nice community. And if you want to talk about Eve stuff, market stuff, real-life market stuff, developer stuff, our Discord is the place to do it. It's the very best way to get in touch with me, and I do love talking to you guys. So don't be afraid to PM me or DM me, because I do like hearing from you guys, and I do like sharing the news. And then last bit is that I want to thank everybody who has reached out in the last, 2 weeks-ish, about wanting to do more with Prosper, about wanting to contribute to the show. And if you are one of those people, well, I got a couple. If you're thinking of contributing, let me give you a couple pieces. Number one, if you want to contribute directly, what we need is code. I do pay Plex for code, and though I need to get some targets out for you guys to work towards, that is the number one best way to support the show. Number two, I'm not looking to expand Prosper into a network. I understand why people would want that. There's a lot of demand for economic reporting right now, and not a lot of supply. So, what I'd like to do instead is to encourage you guys to step up and start filling in some of those voids. Like, for instance, I just got news that Crota over at Markets for ISK is closing his blog, and he has been a incredible trader. He was doing a lot of the month-to-month economic teardowns along with this show, and it was always nice to get a second opinion for the way things go. And without him here, he will be sorely missed. So if you're doing industrial stuff, if you're doing market stuff, start up a blog, start up a stream, get out there. So before I close this section, after I've prattled on for almost 10 minutes. If you like what I do and are looking for something a little more direct, a little more hands-on, a little more a little more direct for especially the greener players who may not know what the tools are or need help with some of the specifics. I'd like to pimp Mr. Strats. That's Mr. Strats91 on Twitch. He has been doing pretty regular technical analysis streams where he does trading and shipping and arbitrage. And they're really casual. And if you're looking for something more traditionally Twitch and more directly trading stuff, I've enjoyed checking out his stream when I can. So links will be linked in the doobly-doo once we're live on YouTube, but do check out Mr. Strats91 on Twitch. With that, I think I've gone on long enough, left you guys in the lurch for far too long, so let's go ahead and get right into the meat of it. Press the right buttons. And let's go do the things. So first, want to remind everyone that CSM season is upon us, and we do have an official Prosper CSM ticket as of right now. Do check out last week's show. I went a big in-depth into who we chose and why we chose them. I just wanted to get them in front of people one more time. Rodin is, if you would vote for me, you should vote for Rodin. He was doing economic reporting over at the Neocom, and is now at EVNT, but they're not really doing economic reporting. He is running a whole industrial trading machine of a corp. If you need economic representation, if you need independent economic representation, Rodin is number one pick on my ballot. Number two, if you are a generalist, if you're a jack of all trades, if you are interested in a lot of the spaces in EVE, and do a lot of floating around, Commander A's is my pick for the more generalist among us. I have for a long time been a drifter and I like doing a lot of different things, and A's is kind of your catch-all for wanting to cover a lot of the bases. So I like Commander A's. He's our number two pick. And in number three is Erika Mizune. This is the third time she's running. And the two things you need to remember for Erika Mizune is, one, if you care very much about accessibility, Erika is absolutely your number one ticket. And number two, she is an industrial powerhouse. She is really a meta leader in the industrial spheres, and she's been a high on my list for the last few years, and I'm hoping that this year is her year. We are still reviewing some other applicants in the field. We're still missing a good API slot for the dev fleet. I had words about Steve last week. We will see if he makes it back onto the list. But this is our Prosper ticket as of right now, this week. Voting does not open for another couple of weeks, I think. So be sure to get studied. And if you're an alpha watching this, I encourage you to go put a Plex in your account ASAP, because as long as you have Omega status once the voting blocks open, you can vote in the CSM election. And I think that's a useful investment in your future if you enjoy EVE and if you want to keep playing EVE in the long term, because the CSM really is one of the best conduits us players have for moving the meta along with CCP. So that's my 2 cents on the CSM here. With that, let's go straight into the reason you guys all tune in. Let's go into Plex. So Plex has been weird. Just like I said last week and the week before that and the week before that and the week before that, we are in an uncharacteristically weak spot with the price not really moving. And I know that this graph looks like there's a good chunk of movement, but like this line is 1 billion and this line is 1.6 billion. Like we're moving maybe 10 million-esque day to day as far as the way things go. volumes are even a little bit anemic. But what confuses me here is that, and if we zoom out to the 1 year view, we really get the big picture. Is that I expect a lot more cash to be coming into the system. I expect, with as productive as nullsec has been without major wars running at the moment, that a lot of cash should be just moving through the system. And though industrially people are extremely productive, we're not seeing large stockpiles of cash moving around. And so we may finally be seeing that proposal I had a few months back that with everybody going into mining, that we're moving cash into minerals just as fast as we can print it off of the backs of rats. I have a hard time really believing that, because when we looked at last month's numbers, you almost could make that case, but also there was a high active ISK delta, which meant a lot of cash was just leaving for people not logging back in. So I'm having a really hard time understanding why, with as incredibly productive as people are lately, we are not seeing cash come flooding into the market. Because this should be a boom period for industrial activity. This should be the time where you go home and you grind out as much cash as you possibly can, because war is coming, my friends. I don't know when, I don't know with who, but we got to get in those fields, and we got to make the things, and we got to get her done while the sun shines. And I'm not seeing that here in the Plex market. I don't know why people aren't going into Plex. It's extremely strange from my perspective. Zooming in, again, longtime viewers of the show will note that 1,000 units is kind of our magic number. That if we're under 1,000 units on the market, we should expect positive Plex pressure. And we're just not seeing that. It's flat. It's super flat. And it's strange. We're seeing the delta stay relatively stable. We're seeing a little bit of weakness in the buy orders. A little bit of weakness in the buy orders. But I think that's more people recovering from destroyed citadels and those coming back online. More so than the actual buy pressure evaporating. Zooming in on the rest of the RMT markets, we finally have the big pain in my ass fell off, so we can actually zoom in. We were seeing the skill extractor leading the cash in for new content, just getting a very slight premium over Plex. That premium has shrunk. And again, with this downward pressure, I kind of expect them to move in tandem. I don't expect to see any sort of leading or lagging. There was also the essentially 2-for deal that gave you, if you bought a bunch of game time up front, you would get multiple training certificate essentially installed. And I kind of expected that to drive a little bit more pressure out of this than we saw. It just doesn't look like it was that. Doesn't look like it was that successful or popular from the numbers I'm looking at. Next, skill trading is having an absolute boom. Last week I had mentioned that it had popped, and I was expecting that would be short-lived, that I expected any extra margin in the skill trading market to just be backfilled by idle zombie farmers in a couple of days, essentially. But what we're seeing is a protracted slump in supply while demand keeps up. So if you were sitting on Plex and you were frustrated that Plex was not growing. Skill injectors are, and this is incredibly interesting, especially as, like I said, especially with Plex being such a dead market at the moment. We're up almost 10% over the last 2 weeks, and I don't know how much higher we can really grow at the moment, because again, if we go back one, we see that we were at 800 ISK per skill point, and we're now at 900 ISK per skill point. I have a really hard time saying that we'll hit anything over 950 ISK per skill point. Just because I think that's just too much free money to be allowed to continue. Again, this is kind of looking like a manipulated market, but with as short as supplies are, skill injectors are climbing, and if you were looking to cash out, if you were sitting on a big chunk of skill points you weren't using, this would be super tempting to cash out. Also, if you wanted to vote for free and you had more than 5 million skill points, you could essentially get the Plex for free, plus a little bit of profit for selling that month of skill points out of your brain straight into this market, and you'd be able to basically buy the right to vote by taking out a piece of your brain, which I absolutely love that as a transhumanist thing. That is hilarious. Moving on to our market indexes, not a lot of news this week. Again, things are quiet, things are slow. We're seeing a little bit of bump in the RMT markets, I think mostly on the skill trading bump. We see that that's basically this entire bump is on the back of skill trading. We're seeing things stay extremely steady in the material markets. That's PI and minerals and salvage and all that good stuff. And the ship market's finally starting to show a little bit of turnaround, but not as much as we'd like to see. Again, I'd like to be back up at this, what is that, 2 trillion mark, or 1.5 trillion mark. We're about 6% under where I'd like to be. Looking at the total destruction numbers, again, we're seeing lower PvP numbers. The lowest since Ascension, which is a little, well, since Christmas. Since Ascension is probably being a little too dramatic. Again, I'm not as tuned into this as I really should be. It again smells to me of people are working, they're not shooting each other. So a lot of the war fronts just tend to be super quiet, and it's a little disconcerting. For the number going down very slightly, we are seeing value destroyed stay relatively steady. So I guess that's good. It's just sort of a local lull. It's almost as if everyone went to finals and kind of didn't bother to log in. Like that's kind of what this feels like. Moving into minerals, but before we start minerals, I do need to point everyone at the latest post from Fozzie. Looks like we are finally getting some adjustments to the Rorqual. I'm the only one who says it that way. Rorqual. That's the way to say it. Like snorkel, I guess. So just a little bit of a breakdown real quick. The excavator drones. So we're in a TLDR, we are lowering the total output. We are decreasing the cycle time so that you get more partial material for your drones being out there. They're adding kill mails to the excavator drones, which is excellent news in my opinion. As a way to incentivize people to be attacking Rorquals. And despite the fact that there's the panic button, you can still get almost a billion ISK a drone off of killing the drones. So I'm looking forward to that incentivizing PvPers. We were talking about this right before the news came out, that like, what would you do to fix it? And that was exactly on my list before this got announced, so that's good to hear. And then another proposed change, which I really like a lot, is that they're going to be expanding the size and shape of a lot of the roid belts, so that you have far away things that regular mining ships could mine efficiently, and clumps of material that Rorqual could easily mine. So you could have your 2 or 3 or 4 or 50 freaking Rorquals, and they could be centered around like the heavy nodes, while traditional mining barges can go out and reach the smaller stuff that might be more valuable, or truly get the efficiency out. You have to mix both. So I like these changes. I'm particularly happy about all of them. There's some consternation about the adjustment to the panic module, so that the battle Rorqual essentially is getting a nerf. But I like this. It's a good change. I'm hoping that it comes out quickly, because every day that goes by with Rorquals running at the current efficiency is more time that it'll take to wash those cheap materials out of the system. When it comes to fountains, whether that's ISK or material or moon goo or what have you, it's a lot easier, economically speaking, to be under than over, because over can take an enormous amount of time to wash out. Longtime players of EVE will remember the Battleship material rebalance, and that took an incredible amount of time to wash out. In fact, there are still vets who have some of those cheap battleships in their holes they just didn't bother to get rid of. Like, there were just millions of those stupid ships made that polluted the market, so that like no normal producer could produce a battleship for years. It was nuts. So with that whole rant, links should be down in the chat, and links will be in the doobly-doo for anybody tuning in not live. Let's get into the news of it. Tritanium, it was down but is tracking up. What I expect to see in the very short term going into this weekend is that we'll see a slight adjustment up in prices. So where Tritanium right now we're looking at under 4.0, I would expect to sort of reset maybe up to 4.2. In the meantime, again, the problem of this is that you can reset, you can use the dev blog to reset the price now, but that doesn't change the fact that for the next 30 days or what have you, the current Rorquals can continue to produce at a much higher rate than they will once the change hits. So I expect this to take a long time to get back to like 4.5 and higher. Zooming in, we can see right after the dev blog, we got right back up to 4.0. Again, this is kind of where I'm putting my 4.2 my 4.2 guess forecast. And supplies are shrinking a little bit. But again, I think this is a trap that unless you're prepared to put a truckload of money down, and you're really prepared to play that 1 or 2% you really need to make this bet work, that I think this is a little bit of a trap. We'll see it maybe shoot up to the 4.25, 4.3, and then come back down and bounce around, in my opinion. Pyrite took a nosedive to 6.0. Sorry, not 6.0, 5.0. On a big bump in supply. Again, same ideas that once the dev blog came out, we see the price reset back to the normal spot it was before the latest dip. What we'll see if we keep this, if the 2 billion units missing from the market stay off the market, then we'll see us back at 6. If they don't, if we get back up to the 6.0, 6.5 billion units level, I think we'll stay under 5.5. So that's where I believe Pyrite is going. This party, unfortunately, this is a bit of a heartbreaker, is that if I had known this was coming, I probably would have told you. But now that the news is over, there's not a lot of play left. And these are expensive markets that really only benefit if you have maxed out skills and you're on the top of your game and you're making sure that your fees are the lowest possible and all you're using every possible advantage. You might be able to still make a buck, but for the general more amateur trader, I would not jump on this. Mexilon has been tracking down just under the 70 mark. Again, we're in such a productive period, and alphas, I think, are still producing a good chunk of Mexilon. We still see supplies stay strong, and I don't really see where this market's going to go per se. There's a slight possibility that supplies will ebb with the Rorqual change, but most Mexilon is not coming from Rorquals. It's coming from HiSec, and I mean, they can't be in HiSec. So we might actually see the price keep tracking down on Mexilon as the other bonuses that miners might be enjoying come around and see the supply continue to creak up over the 1 billion mark. Next, Isagen, my favorite mineral to dump on, is under 45. Remember when it used to be 100, like this summer? It is just down, 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 down. And yeah, we continue to see extremely high supplies. Again, we see this reset of once the dev blog came out. Same story we're seeing everywhere else. That we're back to 45 is about as good as you can expect. I still expect to stay at this 900 million units mark even after everything's said and done. And so I really expect this to stay at 40 in the long term. So again, please don't trade in Isagen. If you're really fast and you're watching right now, you might be able to go play the arbitrage between JITA and the other markets. But like, you need to be doing that right this second. And if you're listening to this on YouTube after the fact, this opportunity has passed. Next, Noxium is tracking down, and this one I actually expect to rebound a little bit harder. And this one might actually be a halfway decent gambling opportunity. We're down under 320, down at about the 200 mark, and supplies are extremely strong. But I do expect that with the Rorqual change that less of this stuff will be coming to market. And I think we can get back over 320, maybe over 340 by the time the new patch hits. It's a risky bet. It is not an easy bet. It would be especially prudent to go put in something in a 250 or a 260 buy order at a Citadel if I were playing this game, just to give myself the largest possible window for success. But I think this has some positive. I think this one could go positive in the next 4 to 6 weeks if you're patient and are willing to do a little bit of extra work. Next is Zydrene, continues to track down. We're back under 1K, like I've been projecting. We're only 3 months late. I am totally good at this. Down at about 900 as of this broadcast, actually 950. Supplies are hot. They should back down, but I expect us to be back down at the 150 mark, which means that wherever the price lands, it'll probably stay there. I think it's going to stay down at 900. We could creak back up to 1K. But I think that's a risky bet, especially with how much Zydrene is still going to be moving around in the system. It's possible, but you'd really have to cross all your fingers and toes and hope that it comes out. I don't feel comfortable telling people to buy in on it. Megasite, similar story, under 1400, still showing downward pressure. Still a lot of this stuff in the supply chain. And even with it coming back down to the 60 million mark, maybe down to the 50 million units mark, we might see some more upward pressure, might get back to 145. Again, I think this is an extremely risky bet. If you have to play in Megasite, the play I would do, and this is a high effort play in my opinion, is again, look for setting up these extremely lucrative buy orders. Really try to get in, not just at where the best buy order is, like right now it's at 1.3K, but put them down at 125 and 120 in the hopes that we see another one of these dips over the weekend. Again, I think that this play might be a little bit late, but I thought I'd at least explain it. Where instead of just saying, oh, well, I mean, it's 1.3 now, and I just put in the buy order now, and maybe I'll get it on the weekend, it'll be fine. But instead put in, a good-sized order of, 50,000 units, 100,000 units at 125, 120, 195. Put these stop orders in so that if the price crashes, they crash through your orders. And then when the price recovers, which I still expect it to do, I expect to be over 1.4 by the time we're all said and done. We might be at 1.45. We might be at 1.50 if you're super lucky. But I mean, we're talking about, you could almost make 20% if you were really, really good and really, really lucky. Just by playing these speculative buy orders down in this area, rather than just playing what the current play here is. So it's risky, yeah, and to offset that risk, I would also look into moving items around. So you might still be able to catch a few cheap orders in Dodixie, like right this second. So there's still some arbitrage opportunities to help hedge those bets. But supply chains are so hot right now that you could get a good price. But if this continues to be at the 80 million units mark, you're just going to be ahead of the curve, and you'll have bought 1.2 Megasite 8 weeks ahead of when it actually happened. So, whatever. Last one, Morphite, now solidly under the 10K mark, down at 9K on average. We're still seeing things stay where we expect them. A big dip in buy orders. Again, this is why we put in speculative buy orders, is that as we crash through that floor, you get cheap material, essentially. That's what these buy orders are for, is you don't know when they will execute, but you will be there to catch the good deal, essentially. I think that this is a little bit strange. This looks like somebody getting out of the market more than an actual dump in price. Supply chains are relatively stable. I don't think Morphite's really going anywhere. Now that we're under 9.5K as a buy order, though, actually under 9K as a buy order right this second, you could again fill up those Morphite stocks waiting for the next war. But it's really easy to oversupply yourself in this stuff if you're just looking for the rainy day fund. I mean, like I've said, I think that sub 10K Morphite is a good buy. It's a good rainy day slush fund. War will come around again one day, whenever that is, and you stand to make a pretty profit for doing so. You can get your 10, 20, 25% for the privilege. You just don't know when. And this is super tempting if I were buying in. But if it were me, I might be doubling my morphite supply and really taking on extra liability, because how the heck do I get rid of all of it? Seeing as there are, 5 million units on the market right this second, and a daily traded volume of about 2 million units. If you were holding more than 1 million units of morphite, for instance, you might start to have a bad time getting cashed out, is my point. Moving on to fuel. Fuel isotopes, again, are tracking up. We're seeing, again, a huge spike in nitrogen, again, on the backs of Delve, most likely, with a lot of moon reprocessing happening, a lot of moon refining going on. We still see the complete dumping of helium isotopes, though, again, don't look at the last day. That's a bug. The prices keep tracking down. Otherwise, we were expecting Burn Jita this last weekend, but there was drama and I didn't really see anything. It might have got delayed or postponed, or it was lol, just a joke, guys. I don't know. So this is, again, I would just keep on business as usual until Burn Jita shows up, and then look to collect the pieces the week after as pent-up supply shows up. So, interesting enough, nitrogen isotopes took a huge jump up. Again, this might be Burn Jita manipulation, the one hand washing the other. We saw a huge dip in supply. We've been seeing this over and over and over again. I actually expected it to stay steady at the 250, 300 million units mark. But it looks like it really got extra bought out over the last couple of weeks. We're seeing that subside, though, this week, and the prices should come back down towards 750. Again, a decent chance to make a quick buck on opportunistic buy orders in the 725, 750 range. But I expect this to be back down at 750 in the next 2 weeks. Again, zooming in on fuel blocks versus build costs. Again, I don't know why anybody's building fuel blocks anymore. It's a losing proposition. You're making no money. If you're still building fuel blocks, please tell me why. Because I think that a lot of you guys are in a mined minerals are free problem at the moment, where you could be making more money, or you could just have your time back by not building. Now, again, I cook in an amount for the build fees. But even if you had free build fees, there's no margin here. This is a losing proposition. Stop making fuel blocks for cheap. Next, strontium, which is our canary in the coal mine for SOV warfare. Nothing going on here. Really strong supply. So strong as to wonder if we're going to see prices slump under the, 7.5K at the moment. So I'd keep an eye on that if you wanted to speculate. Heavy water continues to spike. I was corrected in the previous weeks that this is less going into combat bards and more going into mining bards. So I find that particularly interesting that the price of the mining charges continues to go up and nobody cares. Outlier analysis. Let's go talk about outliers. Start where we usually do, in the advanced material markets. Without Tech 2 really thriving, there's not a lot to talk about here. Interesting to see the metamaterials getting so weak. This has been that's a personal spot I've liked to speculate in the past. But I think we're just at a point where there's more productivity than demand at the moment. So we're going to keep seeing those prices slump. Mid-levels looking relatively steady. Nanotransistors are a bit higher than I'd expect. The high end for ionic condensates and ferrogel, I think, are coming down in the next couple of days. But, just not a lot to talk about in these markets. PI4, we talked about this last week. So 2 weeks ago, I said I thought we were going to go into a slow oversupply. And coming into last week, we saw a bump in a lot of the markets, especially organic organic mortar applicators, recursive computing modules, self-harmonizing power cores all had a decent bump in productivity, but prices are down again. Now, if you're a betting man or person, the mining platforms are starting to leak out. There was a picture of the render yesterday, I think. DevBlog is supposed to be out, quote unquote, any day now. These markets are in a really good spot to jump in, make a quick bet, with nothing to lose, and just jump in for like a Friday dev blog or a next week dev blog, and be out of this the weekend after, once everybody goes nuts about the mining platforms. It's risky, yeah. You won't get super rich, you won't get super genius status, but like sterile conduits are particularly low, especially if you're buying on buy order. Organic mortar applicators, there's a lot of really lucrative buy orders going on right now. And you could basically swoop in at the last second, get a nice big payout, cash out as soon as the dev blog hits, or the weekend after the dev blog hits, and be out of this, make your 10 or 15%, really super easy at this point, because it looks like, again, there's a bit of oversupply in the market. There's a lot of, again, industrial productivity going on at the moment, and you can capitalize on that. Get on the dev blog hype, get out before everybody else comes and crashes the market. Again, I think you can make 10 or 15%, but I don't know if you'll make 20 is kind of what I expect here. Moving on to regular old items, drone coronary units. So let's say that you like tinfoil. Let's say you thought that Rorquals were going to get nerfed. It sure is suspicious that 4 or 5 days before the forum post hits, we see a dumping of price as the prices come down. It's probably not that, but I always love indulging in a little bit of tinfoil. It sure is fun. This is suspicious. After keeping steady, yeah, I can totally understand that. Staying at the what's that, 10 million ISK unit, that'd be, yeah. But expecting a Rourke nerf in March, somewhat suspicious. This would be good tinfoil bait. I don't know if I fully believe it, but I can't not chew the tinfoil with you guys. Next, Cinnables are extremely valuable at the moment, even though we're seeing a huge buyout of these things. I'm not sure why specifically. We're talking about going from about 50 units sold a day to about 100 units sold a day. So I guess huge buyout is relative. But it's become a popular ship in the last week or so. I don't know if this got a recent thing on Zkill, or if some YouTuber is pimping it as an amazing ship. I mean, I understand why it's popular. I want to say it has the warp speed bonus. God, show how out of touch I am. Popular pirate cruiser. But prices are high. If you were holding on to them, this would be a good chance to sell out. I don't know if I'd jump in yet, but there might be some buy order stuff you can play. You can play some wide buy order spreads is what I'd go look for. Next is the Curse. The Curse, it was spiking way up. This looks again like the thing I talked about for the last couple of weeks, where a not very popular ship suddenly becomes either extremely popular, like you need a whole bunch of them, or one of the suppliers kind of drops out. Again, this is an opportunity, if you're on top of the ball, to catch this in overcorrection as it goes under the 200 million mark. I'd be aiming for a 175 personally, just because I don't think I really want to jump in on that. Chad is saying that it might have been popular for skins, but this looks like a supply, like the supply sort of fell out more than anything. So what I'd be looking for here is an overcorrection down under the 200 million mark. I'd prefer under the 180 mark if I could get it. And because again, all the other signs say that the prices should be trending slightly downwards. But you could still play that 180 to 200 spot right there if you were particularly bold. Last, I think, on our list, only because I find it interesting, it's usually an extremely steady product. Energized Adaptive Nanomembrane 2s, or ENAMs, were in a bit of a shortage a couple weeks ago. And now the prices have become unstable. It looks like the prices spiked. A whole bunch of industrialists changed their recipes, jumped in on the market, and we're going to see a little bit of fluctuation. I think that this spike is over at the moment, but if you were sitting on a chunk of these things, just, I happen to be sitting on a whole chunk of these things because I used to do fitted ship contracts, and I just have ENAMs coming out my freaking ears. This might be a decent chance to get rid of them. It's a local maximum. I don't think there's a speculation opportunity, but there is I have too much crap in my garage opportunity here. Last section we go into is our prediction review, where we figure out if I know what the hell I'm talking about. First, we're actually going to break form here. Number one, I didn't know that there was a meat popsicle item. That's cool. That's funny. Today I learned you can have a meat popsicle for, we all identify as meat popsicles. Not super interesting. Only like 5 of these sell a day. It's just a weird commodity. I laughed. And then by request from Commander A's, wanted to go look at the ARC, which is tracking up. I think, again, this is a small local phenomenon. I don't think this is a market-wide reset in prices. So if you're sitting on ARCs, you'd be aiming to sell maybe at 8 billion. We might get there. I don't know if we'll actually get there. Otherwise, I think things are relatively stable. Again, looking at the rest of the moon material forecast out there, I kind of expect prices to slide a percentage point or two. But yeah, we just haven't seen as much action in the jump freighter markets as we used to. And then the actual last section, because I lied, where we go through the violence report. So we look at this week's popular kills. We're back to relatively normal levels. It's interesting to finally see the Rourke on this list. It's been popular, as we see by may not see, it's the teal line right there, that it's not been dying a whole lot, but again, we're back to the normal mix. The Astero is a little bit interesting, as high as it is. The Gila, the Macarial, and the Proteus, again, we've seen those every week. The Vexor Navy issue back on the radar is good to see. Next, for popular systems, again, Auga is a popular destination for PvP lately. Looks like it might be losing some steam in the last couple of days. Jita, we expected, again, if Burn Jita actually happened, this kill count should be about twice what it is, and it's not. We should also see places like Uedama and Nyarja on this list, and we don't. So, no Burn Jita this week. Maybe it's this weekend. I don't know. I find it weird that it just sort of didn't happen, but I guess that's the hype machine. And then last, we look at our regions. Providence is an interesting addition. We usually, I don't think we've seen Providence on the activity list before now. But Placid, Black Rise, Catch, and Citadel, these are kind of expected. I would love the numbers to be a little bit higher than they are right now. We're talking at about 1,000 ships a day killed. I'd really like that at about 1,500 ships killed a day. But what can you do? I can't make you go explode things. You should go and explode things. With that, I'm going to go ahead and end this show. If you're tuned in live, do keep tuned in. We will have a 30-minute Q&A session afterwards. If you want to tune in live, the very best way to do so is through Twitch or YouTube. We stream it full 1080 on YouTube at 0400 on Thursday nights. That's Friday. On Friday at 0400. That's Thursday night U.S. time at 9 p.m. Pacific. We're here every week. If you want to follow the show, the very best way is to get subscribed to Eve Prosper at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. If you want to get in touch with me, if you want to talk about market stuff, whether that's real life market stuff or Eve market stuff, if you like Python as much as I like it, come drop by our Discord. Links to join should be down in the doobly-doo below. If you want to support the show, if you get value out of this show, the very best way to support us is through our Patreon. We are here ad-free, week over week. No delays in trying to get you the content that you need to go make ESC. And we're here thanks to our patrons. So our patrons keep our server bills paid, our license bills paid. They keep ads off the content, and they keep this show on the air week over week. So if you want to support us, if you like what we do, if you just want to buy me a beer, very best way to do so is through our Patreon. Last and certainly not least, if you cannot support us monetarily, that is absolutely fine. I completely understand. Do get subscribed, though, because like every good market person, I like seeing numbers going up and to the right. So get our subscribe numbers up. I would really love to get the Twitter followers up to 1,000. So I'd feel like that account was finally part of the Tweet Fleet proper. So Eve Prosper on all the platforms. Come check us out. I have been your host, Lockefox. This has been the Eve Prosper Market Show. We will be back next week with all the new market news. That's the period.